Did you know there are many topics that a person can increase his knowledge about, including sciences, some useful scientific information. Did you know that the number of human bones at birth is 270 bones, then some of them fuse together, so that the number becomes 206 bones in the adult human? Did you know that a camel can store 113 liters of water in 13 minutes? Did you know that about 700 types of bacteria are found in breast milk, as the human body is full of beneficial bacteria? Did you know that the only metal that is in the liquid state at room temperature is mercury? Did you know that octopus has 3 hearts, 9 brains, and that its blood is blue? Did you know that it takes about 60 seconds for an individual blood cell to spin a complete cycle in the body? Did you know that the average person walks 5 times the length of his life around the world? Did you know that there are 100 billion neurons in the human brain? Did you know that water freezes faster when it's warm, not cold? Did you know that a person can live for about a month without food, but he can only live 1 week without water? Did you know that cats live on average for about 12 to 15 years? The space. Some strange facts about space are: did you know that the most active moon in the solar system is the Jovian moon of Jupiter, where there are hundreds of volcanoes on its surface? Did you know that the longest valley in the universe is on Mars, and it is called the Valley of the Mariners, English, Valles Marineris? Did you know that the solar system completes one spacecraft around the center of the galaxy approximately every 230 million years? Did you know that NASA's Voyager 1 spacecraft is the only spacecraft to have left the solar system so far? Did you know that light takes 8 minutes 19 seconds when it travels from the sun to the Earth? Did you know that one day on Venus is longer than a year on the planet? Did you know that if a plane manages to fly to Pluto, the journey will take more than 800 years? Did you know that the sunset on Mars looks blue? Inventions. Some of the most important inventions in history are: did you know that between the 9th and 11th centuries, the Chinese invented the compass, and it was made of limestone at that time? Did you know that in the year 1440 AD, German Johannes Gutenberg invented the printing machine? Did you know that the first patent holder of an electric phone was Alexander Graham, and he called it an electric speech device? Did you know that the primary inventor of the light bulb is the scientist Thomas Edison? Did you know that penicillin was first observed by Scottish scientist Alexander Fleming in the year 1928 AD? Did you know that computer scientist Lawrence Roberts was the first to invent the Internet? Did you know that Leonardo da Vinci invented the scissors? Did you know that it was the Norwegian Johan Waller who invented the paper clip? Did you know that the first country where metal blinds were invented is Japan? Did you know that the microwave was invented after a researcher traveled through a radar tube and noticed the melting of a chocolate bar in his pocket? Did you know that the can opener was invented 48 years after the cans were invented? Did you know that the electric chair was invented by a dentist? Did you know that traffic lights were invented before cars? Literature. Some interesting literary information. Did you know that cuneiform writing is the first writing system, dating back to the year 3200 BC, and clay symbols were used in calculating and recording goods? Did you know that the first alphabet, called the Canaanite alphabet, originated in the ancient Near East, specifically in Lebanon in the year 1500 BC? Did you know that the first person to write the first novel in the world is a Japanese woman known as Murasaki Shikibu, and the novel is named after Genji? Did you know that the first copy of the group, 1001 Nights, appeared during the First World War in Persia, and collected 264 tales of Persian, Indian, and Arabic tales? As this group has no single author or source. Geography. Some interesting geographical information about our world is: did you know that the summit of Mount Chimborazo in Ecuador is the farthest point from the center of the Earth? Did you know that Indonesia is home to the largest number of Muslims in the world, as 87% of its inhabitants convert to Islam? Did you know that the largest exporter of rice in the world is Thailand, then India comes second? Did you know that the city of Rome was built on 7 hills, namely, Paladin, Capitoline, Quirinale, Vimal, Esquilian, Caglian and Aventin? Did you know that Mongolia is the least densely populated country, with a population of 2.5 million? Did you know that Lake Crater, located in the state of Oregon, is the deepest lake in the United States and the seventh deepest lake in the world? Did you know that it is difficult to determine the time in the North and South Poles because of the convergence of longitude? Did you know that the Volga is the longest river in Russia and Europe? It is suitable for navigation and is used for energy production and irrigation. Did you know that the total number of people who have lived on Earth is estimated to be between 60 and 120 billion? Did you know that the Eiffel Tower can be 15 centimeters longer during the summer? Did you know that the Amazon rainforest produces 20% of the Earth's oxygen? Sports. Some important information about the history of sport. Did you know that the Olympic Games started in the year 776 BC? Did you know that the game of baseball, or baseball in English, baseball, began in New York, and the first is the inventor invented by Alexander Cartwright? Did you know that the official rules for the game of basketball were set in the year 1892 AD, when balls were thrown in baskets of peaches, and then they evolved into iron collars with a basket, until they reached their final form? Did you know that Walter Camp was the first to establish the rules of football in the year 1879 AD? Did you know that boxing became a legal sport in 1901? Did you know golf is the only sport practiced on the moon? For kids, here is some helpful information for children. Did you know that shark lays the largest egg in the world? Did you know that cows and horses slept standing up? Did you know that hummingbirds can fly back? Did you know that sheep have equipment to help them digest food? Did you know that a snake can see even after its eyelids are closed? Did you know that children blink an average of 5 million times a year? Did you know that some cats are allergic to humans? Did you know that most types of lipstick used in its composition contain fish scales?